Over the last several weeks, it's been increasingly clear to us that our members are shocked and dismayed by a Board of Education that has disrespected their professional judgment and is attempting to impose harsh and harmful policies upon their classrooms and their students. On behalf of every public school teacher, clinician, and paraprofessional who are part of CTU, I can say assuredly, we are tired of being bullied, belittled, and betrayed by the district and by the city of Chicago. Enough is enough. That is why on Wednesday, June 6th, we will conduct strike authorization votes in all of our schools. Due to the overwhelming support of our members, we expect an affirmative vote well over the 75% threshold. Please know that on May 10th, the Chicago Teachers Union conducted a informal poll of its membership, asking if they were willing to reject the board's contract proposals. More than 90% of the voters said they would. Several days later, in an unprecedented show of unity, nearly 10,000 teachers, clinicians, paraprofessionals rallied and took to the streets to illustrate their concerns for the direction of our school system and of our profession. Next week, we intend to take this vote. This is an important step in ensuring that the voices of over 25,000 public school educators will be heard at the bargaining table. A strike authorization vote is not a vote to go on strike. Let me repeat that. A strike authorization vote is not a vote to go on strike. We want to avoid a strike. Strikes aren't good for anyone, not our members, not our parents, and certainly not our students. And no one has the authority to tell the Chicago Teachers Union when it should conduct this vote, how it should conduct this vote, who should oversee this vote, how long this vote will be. State law does not prohibit us from taking a strike authorization vote now, and does not require us to wait for after fact-finding to do so. Last year, an Oregon-based anti-public schools pro-charter education led the charge to stifle collective bargaining rights for public school educators in Illinois. Stand for Children later bragged about the creation and eventual passage of the infamous Senate Bill 7, even implying they had coerced state lawmakers into supporting the legislation through campaign donations. It should be noted that Senate Bill 7 offered no education reforms. Its sole purpose was to make it harder for teachers' unions to strike. Ironically, since the signing of that law, we have seen a significant increase in the number of teacher strikes here in Illinois. That is because this bill emboldened school districts to enforce draconian policies on schools throughout the state. This illustration couldn't be more clear than in District 299, the city of Chicago. Since the passage of SB 7, public school educators, parents, and students in Chicago have been subjected to a variety of misguided and harmful school reform proposals. CPS administrators have openly bragged about how the district will starve a struggling neighborhood school for up to a decade before choking the life out of it and closing it down or turning it over to AUSL or other politically connected education groups. Thousands of parents, teachers, school nurses, students, counselors, clerks, ministers, activists took to the streets this winter to protest the board's plan to disrupt 17 community schools. Despite the scores of marches, demonstrations, board appearances, letters to the editor, and pleas of mercy from parents and grandparents of CPS students, the board acted with a cold callousness and voted unanimously against the will of the people. There is rampant chaos in Clark Street, which has become a revolving door of people with out-of-town license plates. At times, we don't know who's in charge over there. Jean-Claude Brizard is the third CEO I have personally interacted with in the past 2 years. In addition, there seems to be a pattern and practice of fraud at CPS. Yesterday, I asked CPS Inspector General James Sullivan and the U.S. Department of Education to investigate why Chief Talent Officer Alicia Winkler was able to proceed with a $35 million Teacher Incentive Fund federal grant without meeting the conditions of the proposal. Recently, the federal government asked CPS to return portions of those monies after learning CPS was in direct violation of the terms of the agreement. Before I turn this over to some of the educators, parents, and community leaders who are here today, let me go over some of our contract concerns. If the board has its way, it will eliminate any real enforcement of class size limits. In their proposal to CTU, CPS uses the same argument that Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney recently made in Philadelphia. The CPS proposal claims, contrary to common sense and teacher experience, that class size does not matter. Their language in quotes says that the board shall establish a class size policy and notify the union of this policy. Not only will they impose whatever class size they think is appropriate after they have said class size doesn't matter, they have cut any funding in our contract to lower oversized classes and have eliminated any real limits on ballooning class sizes next year. They have rejected all of CTU's proposals on appropriate staffing levels for our students, including art, music, PE, library, and world languages. Counselors, social workers, nurses, and school psychologists, despite woefully inadequate staffing levels throughout the district, and a longer day that will require additional staff if it is to be a better day. They refuse to accept any of our recommendations regarding full-day kindergarten, playground facilities, or air conditioning for all schools, despite just last week many of our schools reaching temperatures well over 90 degrees when learning becomes nearly impossible and classroom conditions inhumane. They have already cut the facilities budget by 85% next year, and as they propose 60 new non-union charters and plan to close nearly 100 schools in the next year or so. They continue to disrespect teachers with a 2% raise offer for the first year of a 5-year contract, even though working at CPS is getting much, much more difficult. They plan to remove protections for experienced and qualified teachers who lose their positions through no fault of their own, which will exacerbate the current 50% teacher turnover rate every 5 years, something that interferes with continuity and quality instruction. These are the reasons why our members are outraged. We are the educational experts, and we have knowledge and insight about what's good for our students and appropriate for our schools, but they continue to refuse to listen. We cannot afford to allow the Board of Education to inform these harmful conditions on teachers, paraprofessionals, and students next year. And that is why our members have decided this is the proper course of action. First and foremost, it is critical that you hear from them this afternoon. We are the Chicago Teachers Union. These are the people who make the schools work and have important things to say about why we are taking this vote. Trish O'Shea.
For the past 38 years, I have taught with the Chicago Public School System. For the last 5 of those years, I've been honored to teach 40 3- and 4-year-olds with the assistance of an amazing paraprofessional. Our children are bright and they're beautiful. They come to school with smiles on their faces and they are ready, willing, and able to learn. We are a tracky school in the heart of Roseland. Our school year begins in the dog days of August. No matter how willing our children are, there are days when learning in our classroom is almost impossible. When the temperature in our classroom reaches 100+ degrees, it's almost impossible to learn. We have virtually no air circulation. It's brutal. I have several students with asthma, They are young, and I am not. The mayor tells us to check on our youngest and oldest citizens in times of high heat. Who checks on us? It is now that we must strengthen our contract to better allow teachers to advocate for their students. In times of extreme heat, not only is their learning at risk, so is their health. I resent the fact that it appears nothing will be done about unair-conditioned classrooms until someone literally dies from the heat. The present is always the time to advocate for children, but now more so than ever, it appears that to the board, our children are just numbers and not human beings. Furthermore, the union has proposed air conditioning all schools for all kids, and the board has rejected these proposals. I find this unconscionable.
Benita Whitfield Shanklin. I'm a 13-year school social work expert underutilized within the Chicago Public School System. I and my fellow clinical colleagues feel that we are easily accessible and readily available to the community. We provide necessary therapeutic interventions for our children, all children, not only the students with, but also those students without disabilities. As a school social worker and a product of good public schools, I'm not only a staunch advocate for a better day and quality neighborhood schools, but also for healthy schools. We want a richer education within a healthy environment. A healthy environment encompasses so much more than just a quiet and a clean school building. For instance, does the school offer a healthy environment if a student dies and his or her classmates are not provided therapeutic intervention? Does it provide a healthy environment if their teen pregnancy continues to go up and nobody does anything about it by offering a rich educational, sexual educational classroom? The suicidal ideations and attempts continue to increase, but is it a healthy environment if there's nobody there to provide training, preventative training for the students and the faculty? In times such as these, there is plenty of evidence to let us know how we can be better. So there's no excuse why we are not fully equipping our schools with clinical teams. Clinical teams that will, unfortunately, on a daily basis provide crisis intervention, but we can also be there to provide and lead preventative programs where they're not utilizing us to do that as much as we could. But for whatever reasons, they're continuing to provide monies and grants to outside agencies to come in and do what we already know how to do well. Just last year, we also we're understaffed. There's more work. There's like a minimum of 1 to 1,000. The school social workers, school counselors, school psychologists, minimum 1 to 1,000. And it's hard for us to do this job without having the interns there to help us with it. Last school year, they had over 10 school social workers retired, over 47 interns, but they hired not one. So we would like for you to consider, please, the amount of school, not only social workers, but school psychologists, school counselors, school OT, PT. We are all a clinical team, and I know I'm leaving my speech pathologist and somebody else, but we are all underutilized. Thank you. Becky Malone.
It's Becky Malone, B-E-C-K-Y, Malone, M-A-L-O-N-E. And I am here from the 19th Ward Parents Organization, which represents parents predominantly in the Mount Greenwood, Beverly, and Morgan Park neighborhoods, but really parents across the city. And we are here today in support of our teachers and their fight to be able to continue to provide the highest quality education for our children. Our teachers have been demonized for the financial and academic crisis that they did not create. They've been denied resources, counselors, and programs that aid them in teaching our children, particularly those that come from the most challenging circumstances, poverty, homelessness, and violence. They have been asked to work a longer class day with larger class sizes, implement a new teaching standard, and be judged on the performance of their students and their test scores without a respectable increase in pay. They are expected to guide our brightest young minds, but their hands are continually tied by a city that does not respect them or the work they do, and they deserve the support of us as parents and community members. If the city gets what it wants, our children will be subjected to a longer day, not a better day, because we know that autonomy with budgets simply means that principals get to choose between hiring teachers or buying textbooks. We know that they cannot afford new technology and art teachers, music teachers, and PE teachers. We know that libraries, safe playgrounds, air conditioning, full-day kindergarten for all, and retaining good, experienced teachers are not priorities of the city. The ultimate goal, it seems, is to turn around schools and close schools to increase charters and privatize our public education. We know that as long as we have a school board stacked with the wealthy and politically connected, appointed by the politically connected and wealthy, these things will not change. These battles cannot be won. So I am here today on behalf of parents to say that we are willing to stand up to the status quo. We are willing to say we are done being bullied by politicians and dictated to by wealthy business people who don't know the first thing about quality education, whose only concern seems to be the financial bottom line. Our teachers cannot fight this battle alone. They need us as parents to support them, to be vocal, to be strong, and to take a risk on behalf of our children. They need us to speak out to the board, to the media, and to our local politicians, and they need us to continue to demand that our voices be heard along with those of our teachers as we promote a cooperative and inclusive effort to provide the best education for all of our children. Thank you very much.
Rolando Vasquez.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rolando Vasquez. Capital R-O-L-A-N-D-O, capital V-A with an accent mark above it, Z-Q-U, easy. Yes, I'm a teacher. I teach 6th grade and 7th grade language arts and math. Really proud to be a teacher, really proud to be a CTU member. I want to say a couple things about the arts just briefly. This is a quote from Peter McWhorter. He's the president of the Alberta Teachers Association for Fine Arts Council. He says, the arts are fundamental to the development of the human spirit. When was the last time we heard that in rhetoric, the human spirit? I think it's great. He continues on. He says, the arts help develop critical and creative thinking skills and enable students to make informed choices and enhance their identity. Beautiful. The board's rhetoric is a bit misleading, so allow me to make it real clear. There is no mention of additional resources for the arts in their proposal. Let's be clear about that. So, bottom line, the arts have to be a priority. Look, all parents who have their kids involved in dance and sports and world languages or what have you, they know the deal. I mean, my sister has her kids in dance. My sister has her kids in ballet, dance too. They know the deal. What I'm trying to say is this. It's really important, and I think everyone gets this on an intuitive level. Let me be more specific. My school has no art teacher. Not one. The lab school has 7 art teachers. My students yearn for the arts, and it's imperative that we recognize this yearning as a profound thirst for learning. I mean, this is coming from them, from the students. They're telling us outwardly what it is that they want. They want the arts. And isn't that what this is all about anyway?
We have Erica Clark and Howard Emerson.
Hello, my name's Erica Clark. I'm representing a group called Parents for Teachers, and I'm also a CPS parent with 2 children in the public schools. I'm here today to lend our support to Chicago Teachers Union and all of our teachers as they fight for what is in the best interest of our kids. The mayor and the board would like you to believe that the teachers and the teachers union are the villain in this dispute, that the teachers are only out for their self-interest and don't care about the kids. But nothing could be farther from the truth. As a parent, I know. I've been in my kids' schools. I see how hard the teachers work. I see how dedicated they are. And I also know that from day one, the contract proposals that the CTU has put forward have been about what really matters to our kids. Smaller classes, more art and music, world languages, more nurses, counselors, social workers in our schools, the things that kids really need to learn and grow, and by the way, the things that are the hallmarks of the education the mayor's kids get, and the president's kid get, and the members of the CPS board, their children all have access to these things in their schools, but the vast majority of kids in CPS do not. So we're here to say to the teachers and to the teachers union how very grateful as parents we are that you're fighting for our kids and doing what's right for our kids. No one really wants to strike, of course. I don't think the teachers want to strike. I don't think the parents or the students want to strike. But we understand that if it comes to that, it will be because the teachers feel they have no other option to do what's right for our kids. And as a parent, like I said, I am so grateful for all the work the teachers and the unions are doing, and parents will be behind you all the way.
Sarah Chambers.
My name is Sarah Chambers, spelled S-A-R-A-H-C-H-A-M-B-E-R-S. I'm a special education teacher at Salcedo Academy. Chicago Public School teachers will not accept the Board of Education's destructive proposals that are detrimental to the children of Chicago and the educators that devote their lives every day to teaching. Currently, the board's proposals include the elimination of class size limits across the city, which would significantly raise the number of students in every classroom. Similar to the mantra of candidate Mitt Romney, the board has stated that class size reductions do not impact educational outcomes. That is absolutely outrageous. Numerous studies have proven, and every teacher knows, that class size has an enormous impact on student learning and performance. With an average CPS class containing English language learners, students with disabilities, and students living below the poverty line, it is crucial that each and every classroom has a low student-to-teacher ratio. Some kindergarten and primary classrooms around the city have over 40 students. Would you want your child in a classroom with over 40 students? I don't think so. With such overwhelming numbers, it's impossible to apply the best educational practices in our classrooms. With the Chicago Teachers Union's proposals to lower the size of classrooms to 20 to 23 students in the primary grades, teachers will be able to provide high-quality education that aligns with the class size numbers of other Illinois districts. These low class sizes are supported at the lab school, where the board member Penny Pritzker and Mayor Rahm Emanuel send their children. At the lab school, the average class size is 18 students, drastically lower than the 40 students around CPS. The students of CPS deserve the same quality education that Rahm and Penny Pritzker's kids deserve. As CPS teachers, we want what's best for our students. We are prepared and determined to advocate on behalf of our students by rejecting the board's proposals and by voting yes to a strike authorization and yes to successful learning and working conditions. Thank you.
Mary Eileen Quinn.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Aline Quinn. It's M-A-R-Y, capital A-L-E-N-E, Quinn, Q-U-I-N-N. I'm a veteran teacher at John C. Dorr School, D-O-R-E. When special education teachers are on recess duty, they are serving no special education students. This is inappropriate. Again, the neediest children will pay the greatest price. Money is not available at Dorr School. We have very high parent working ratio, very high parent support ratio, but we have very low poverty, and we have very few discretionary funds. Once again, the working parents, the taxpayers, the city workers, the teachers, the police and the firemen, students, children will pay for the inadequate funding of this longer day.
Karen has to step up for a minute. My name is Jesse Sharkey. I'm the CTU Vice President. I'm going to take over as MC for a minute here. Next, we're going to hear. From. Just had it. Catherine Cunningham Yee, who's the teacher of Hampton Park.
Hi, my name is Catherine Cunningham Yee. C-A-T-H-E-R-I-N-E. Cunningham, U-N-N-I-N-G-H-A-M, with a hyphen, and then Yee. Y is yellow, E-E. I'm a teacher at Hampton Park. I teach 8th grade. And I'm here to speak about the unfunded longer school day. Or as the Board of Ed likes to call it, the full school day, because I guess it's foolish that they would think that we should be working an extra hour for no pay. Even my own child, a third grader, can see that this is not a fair compensation. This is a matter of right and wrong. Okay, I'm going to go off topic a little bit. I'm going to share a little story about Hanson Park and Hanson Park teachers for a moment, just so I can illustrate how teachers are really in it, not for the glamour, not for the recognition, and certainly not for the pay. But we do it for the pay. Hanson Park Elementary had a fundraiser this past April. And it came to our attention, the case manager's attention, that our students who have physical disabilities needed walkers and some splint boards, and some of our students needed glasses. So she took it upon herself to organize a fundraiser where she solicited donations from our staff. Out of our own pocket, we provided a whole myriad of Disney trips, concerts and things to be donated and then auctioned off at this auction. At the auction in April, we attended the auction, and then we, as a staff of Hanson Park, bought all that stuff back, and we raised $6,000 for the students at Hanson Park. So I guess my point is that the Board of Ed needs to really thank us rather than disrespect us. And they need to realize that we are the professionals and that we know what the students need. We don't need their proposals or their mandates. What we need is help, and we need it now. Thank you.
Catherine Markham, teaches at Edwards.
Good afternoon. Catherine Markham, C-A-T-H-E-R-I-N-E, Markham, M-A-R-K-H-A-M. I'm here to speak about class size. Class size affects students on many levels. It impacts how often they get to work in small groups with their teacher, how often they get to work one-on-one with their teacher when they do not understand a concept. It also affects how closely the teacher is able to monitor each individual child's progress. In large groups, it is not always easy to determine who does not grasp what concept and what is being taught.
Karen McDonald.
Hi, my name is Karen McDonald, and I am a teacher presently at Diane High School. I'm going to speak a little bit about the art program and what happened with our students who were taking art this school year.
Can you spell your name?
K-A-R-E-N, McDonald, M-C-D-O-N-A-L-D, and I apologize, I am Southern folks. Students at Diane were enrolled in art in the beginning of the school year. After the 20th day, the art teacher was displaced. Subs were put in place for approximately 2 to 3 weeks until it could be determined what was going to happen. There were a little over 40 seniors that needed the arts requirement for graduation. The principal tried to get a part-time art position, which was denied. For approximately 8 weeks, the senior art students had a rotation of 4 displaced teachers, board subs for 2 weeks each. Then a retired art teacher was put in place until the spring break. Upon returning from spring break, the art teacher that was displaced on the 20th day was brought back in as a sub. Of course, this was a up and down roller coaster for the students that had a need to graduate with an arts requirement. These are the types of processes that CPS needs to change.